Whether you conduct meetings, pitch ideas, or simply write a persuasive email, the ability to guide your audience from one thought to the next is non-negotiable. The days of stumbling over awkward segues end here. Without further ado, here are the 20 essential transitions that will make you sound sharper instantly. Therefore, this word indicates a logical conclusion or result. Synonyms include consequently, and hence, for example, the evidence was conclusive, therefore the jury returned a verdict of guilty. However, use this to introduce a contrasting point or unexpected exception. Synonyms are nevertheless and nonetheless. For example, the restaurant is quite expensive. However, the quality of the food justifies the price. Moreover, this adds information that emphasizes the preceding point. Synonyms include furthermore and besides. For example, the house has a new roof. Moreover, the furnace was just replaced last year. Consequently, this signals a direct effect or outcome of a specific cause. Synonyms are accordingly and therefore, for example, the company failed to meet its sales targets. Consequently, it had to freeze hiring. Nevertheless, this concedes a point, but insists the main argument remains valid. Synonyms include, however, and nonetheless. For example, the commute is very long. Nevertheless, she loves living in the countryside. Furthermore, this introduces an additional point that supports the same line of reasoning. Synonyms are moreover and besides. For example, the system is secure. Furthermore, it includes two-factor authentication for all users. Thus, this indicates in this way or as a result of what was just stated. Synonyms are therefore and hence. For example, the temperature dropped below freezing overnight, thus creating black ice on the roads. In addition, this is a straightforward way to add supplementary information. Synonyms are additionally and moreover. For example, you will need a passport. In addition, you must apply for a visa online. Meanwhile, this indicates two events happening at the same time. Synonyms include meantime and while. For example, she was out buying groceries. Meanwhile, the children were busy making a mess in the kitchen. Likewise, this shows similarity or agreement between two ideas or actions. Synonyms are similarly and also. For example, the first draft was rejected. Likewise, the second version failed to impress the editor. Otherwise, use this to explain the negative consequence if something is not done. Synonyms include else and differently. For example, you need to submit the form by Friday, otherwise your application will be void. Although this introduces a subordinate clause of contrast or concession, synonyms are though and even though. For example, although the budget is tight, we still manage to find funds for the project. Whereas, this highlights a direct and stark contrast between two facts or groups. Synonyms include while and conversely. For example, the north side of the island is arid, whereas the south side is lush and tropical. Indeed, this emphasizes or confirms a statement, often adding weight. Synonyms are truly and really. For example, the hike was difficult. Indeed, it was the hardest trail I've ever climbed. Accordingly, this suggests an action taken that fits logically with the situation. Synonyms are consequently and therefore. For example, the forecast called for heavy snow. Accordingly, the school decided to close early. Besides, this introduces a final, often decisive point. Synonyms are moreover and furthermore. For example, I don't have the time to go to the concert. Besides, the tickets are sold out anyway. Nonetheless, this indicates persistence or truth in spite of an obstacle. Synonyms are nevertheless and however. For example, it was raining hard. Nonetheless, the parade continued as scheduled. Hence, a formal way of saying for this reason or from this source. Synonyms include therefore and thus. For example, he grew up in a bilingual household and hence speaks both languages fluently. Yet, a concise alternative to but or however, often used for contrast, synonyms include nevertheless and still. For example, the solution seems simple, yet no one has tried it before. Even though this is a stronger, more emphatic version of although, synonyms are although and though. For example, even though she was exhausted, she stayed up late to finish the report. On that note, we'll call it a day. You've been a fantastic audience, and I'll see you in the next video. And hey, if I miss you, you know the drill. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.